Okay, let's explore this. Let's say for a second that you're right. Let's say that I was violently sexually assaulted as a child in the church. Let's say that the trauma from that sexual assault is the reason that I go on TikTok and talk shit about your God. Why would that make me wrong? If my human father stood in the room while another man sexually assaulted me and did nothing, would I be justified in calling my human father an asshole? If my human father told me, listen, I let it happen because I knew you needed to learn a lesson from that sexual assault, should I have a relationship with my human father? Should I buy him a Father's Day card? Should I praise him in public? If my human father would deserve jail for that, why would your God deserve my loyalty and love? If your all-powerful, all-knowing, all-present God saw me being sexually assaulted as a child and did nothing, why should I go on social media and praise him? If you're right, and that happened to me as a child, why on earth do you think that I am not justified in my criticism of your God? This isn't just a foul thing to say, it's a shit argument. Because let's take it a step further, shall we? Because you also think I'm going to hell. Which means if you're right, your God knows that my criticism of him is a trauma response. And he's going to torture me for it. Your God is going to punish me in hell for all eternity for having a trauma response to childhood sexual assault. That's what you've said here. That's the God you worship. So thanks for proving my point that your God is an asshole.
Her example was spot on. And although many people have left the church because they encountered bad people and were essayed and things of that nature, there are those of us who have left the church not because of those reasons whatsoever, but because we became more educated, and that's why we left the church. And I'm going to give you a real life example of that. You see, when I was growing up, my parents, they taught me about the Tooth Fairy, and they taught me about Santa Claus. And every time I lost a tooth, I would find a quarter under my pillow. Got a little older, and one year I found $1. So I believed in the Tooth Fairy. So when I would get a tooth wiggling, I would wiggle that joker, play with it, mess with it until it fell out because I wanted that money. But the worst one that my family taught me about was Santa Claus. Now, I believed in Santa Claus wholeheartedly as a child. Loved Christmas. Christmas, cool. Christmas was a great time of year. Loved Santa Claus. And I was about 6 years old, and I was a good kid. Christmas came. I didn't receive anything from Santa Claus. I woke up that morning, there were no gifts under the tree. The only gifts I received is when we went to my grandmother's house, and my grandmother had bought me a gift because she drew my name that year. So I was very disappointed. But I figured it was my fault. Just as many Christians figure that they don't receive blessings because it's their fault, I figured it was my fault because I was also being taught Christianity at that time frame. So I thought that it was my fault. So that next year, I was super good. My mom didn't have to say anything about my chores. My grades were spot on. My brother asked me to do his homework. I did it. Whatever my grandparents wanted me to do, I did it. My aunts, uncles, they tell me to do something, it was done. I was a friend to everyone, an enemy to no one. Didn't get in any fights. Somebody wronged me, I let it go. Super good. Followed all the rules. And Christmas came, and I received no gifts. I was hurt. I was disheartened. I couldn't understand it. Why did I not receive any gifts? So another year, I'm going to be super good, even better than before. I'm going to volunteer for charities. I'm going to stay longer after church. I'm going to do everything possible. I'm going to follow the Bible even more so now. 8 years old, I'm super great good, doing everything that I can because I wanted that reward. Christmas comes. The tree is empty. As a matter of fact, we didn't even have a tree that year. I didn't get it. I didn't understand. And at this time frame, right before Christmas, in October, I had turned 9. And it made no sense to me of why So I decided, to hell with it. Why am I being so good? Why am I not fighting when someone comes and they attack me? Why am I giving away food at lunchtime when I barely have food in my own house? Why am I doing everything so perfectly? Nah, I'm not doing this anymore. There's no reward at the end. Even got to the point where, and my brother still picks on me about this, some older kids was bullying me and my friend William. Me and my friend William saw their younger brothers and sisters coming out of the woods. So we grabbed them and took them to our clubhouse that we had built in the wood. It was made out of boxes, you know, back in the day. And we were pushing them in the sticker bras and all that kind of stuff, but my heart wasn't there. So I said, I will let the girls go. And we kind of like just bullied the boys. I had a fingernail clipper. I turned the little nail file out and I was like, yeah, it's my knife. So we finally let the kids go. The older brother and sisters, they saw us and they chased us home. And about an hour later, the police show up. They talked to my mom, didn't understand that they were just doing a scare straight program. Took me and William down to the juvenile detention center. Told us how we're going to live and what's going to happen to us and all that. Scared straight like a champ, though. I was terrified. So when I got home, my mom was like, you're such a good kid. You usually are a good kid. Why have you started acting out? And I told her. I said, every year that I was good for 3 years, every year. And Santa Claus didn't bring me anything. So what was the point of being so good? And my mother looked at me dead in my face and said, boy, you know Santa Claus ain't real. I'm the one who buy you your gifts. And I told her, I remember saying exactly, why would I not think he's real? Because you told me he was real. This is what you taught me, that he was real. I was good for the reward. I was so angry with my mom for lying to me. Now, after that, yeah, a little bit right there. Whew. I might need to call my mother today, have another conversation with her. But I was so upset, because I later found out that the reason, because she did explain that the reason why those last 3 years we hadn't received any gifts is because my mother was working for a company called Coates and Clark. When she was working for them, money was good. Christmas was great. The factory shut down. Once they shut down, my mom was now working 2.5 jobs to try to take care of me and my brother and my sister. And the ends weren't meeting. So Christmas was a luxury. Coates and Clark used to have a Christmas fund that they would hold for you. So she would utilize that. Now she's working 2.5 jobs. And we have to go to my grandmother's house half the time to eat dinner. So I didn't understand that. She didn't explain that. She didn't tell me that until that moment. And I recognized what she was doing. I did notice that she wasn't in the house as much. But I had no idea of the fullness of what was going on. So I did, in my anger, I did gain a newfound respect for my mother and what she's willing to do for her children. But I was angry that she lied to me. And that is the year that I began to actually study the Bible and question the Bible. Because I knew adults will lie to you. I knew that what they tell you on the surface is not always truth. And the more and more I studied, the more and more I realized that adults are lying to themselves because they have been lied to. And that this lie goes all the way back to the original writings of this book. That those in power have been writing this lie, promising people a great reward for their suffering. And people willingly suffer, take delight in their suffering, and even make their suffering the will of this benevolent God. This omnibenevolent God. And through my research and my studies and traveling all over the world and all the archaeologists and scholars that I have met over the years, I just realized that it's all fake and that my testimony would never be a testimony for this God. So y'all have a great day. Subscribe to the channel. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself.